So Yorkshire is famous for many things: puddings, rhubarb, tea and of course cricket. Many a summer's evening was spent in the back garden with my dad in a few selected plant pots as fielders, recreating dramatic Ashes victories of old. Problem was, I wasn't very good. Thankfully for us though, one man from our neck of the woods did get quite good at cricket, catching the eye in the local leagues in Hull and 1 or 2 cricket balls as well. He went on to represent the greatest county of them all. His name is Steve Patterson. Take us right back to where it all began then. Young lad done good in Hull. There's not been many that's come obviously from that neck of the woods either to step up. Where were you playing and how did you get spotted by Yorkshire?
It started a long time ago now, it feels a long time ago. Played some junior cricket at Kirkella for a couple of years and then they merged with Hull and then moved to play at the Circle, which is obviously now the KCOM Stadium. And played all my junior cricket in Hull, played for Hull men's team from probably 13, 14 onwards, and then moved across to Leeds to go to university at 18. Kind of married that up with playing for Yorkshire, and then kind of haven't looked back since.
Was it always something you thought you could do and wanted to do, or did you just fall into it?
I did a bit of everything when I was younger, kind of like everybody does at that age. And I think cricket was something that probably I was a little bit better at than other sports. Fortunately, I weren't good enough at football. Certainly can't play rugby with a body like this. And yeah, and cricket just worked well for me really, so kind of enjoyed it as well and got a few opportunities and just went from there. What
was cricket like in Hull? It is a mad rugby and football town. What was it like coming through as a cricketer and playing at some of those local clubs?
It was very good. It was enjoyable. There's some good players. I often think they get a little bit overlooked over there because it's a long way from Headingley and kind of what goes on over here. But there's a lot of good players, and I found with any sport in Hull there was a huge appetite for it, and people are very passionate and enjoy it. So yeah, it was a great start to my cricketing career.
Do you remember much about being back home and being brought up back home? And when you go back now, did people recognise you at all in the street and stop you for a chat about cricket?
I don't. To be honest, with how busy we are now, I don't get back as much as I'd like really. I go and see family and that's about all I do. But I remember a lot of it and it was a good time and I wouldn't change kind of my childhood for the world. I had a fantastic life over there and unfortunately I'm based over here now, and for the amount of cricket we have it's just not practical to still live in Hull and work over here. So I've lived over here for 13, 14 years, but Hull is home to me and it always will be, and it's a huge part of my life. So this is the home dressing room for Yorkshire. Obviously toilets area over there can get a bit smelly after 4 days of 15 lads being together. Shower area there, and then this is obviously where we spend the majority of our time.
So whereabouts are you sat in here?
This is me here. This is my stuff and my spot. We've been training today, so I've got kit everywhere. It can get messy at times because for cricket, you can imagine we have quite a lot of equipment. It's not like rugby or football where you need pair of boots. We've got a lot of kit.
And is this all your actual
Yeah, this
gear?
is mine. This is the stuff I'll be using in a game tomorrow. These are my bats. They've changed a little bit in the last kind of 15, 20 years. They got a lot bigger, but surprisingly not much heavier. I don't really understand that, but there seems to be a lot more wood in the bats these days than there used to be, and probably explains why some of the younger lads can hit the ball so far. So basically, there's a capping system in cricket. Yorkshire's very traditional with it. The club's been going 153, 154 years. The latest lad to be capped was number 178. And when you get capped, it's kind of recognition of a substantial amount of performances for the first team over a period of time. I'm number 170. When you get capped, you get obviously your cap, and you get your sweaters with a slightly different colour to everybody else. So this is my cap. You get one cap and it's designed to last you your whole career. Mine's now in its 5th year, so as you can see it's seen its better days. It's a little bit sweaty, it's had some champagne in there and stuff over the last couple of years, but it's kind of real recognition of what you've achieved in the sport. And the idea is, if you could see it, the lads who are not capped are classed as second team lads. They've got a second team cap, and that's a white rose, but it's a closed bud. And the first team cap is an open bud, and it was designed with 11 petals to represent the 11 players in the side. So that's my cap. Dave Willey, our new signing, England player, sits over here. It's his first year, so he's just finding his feet in the dressing room.
Has he got enough gear?
Yeah, he's got plenty. He's a very angry man at times, and he can be a little bit image conscious, so he likes to take care of himself, but that's where he is.
So we're in the final corner. Who sits here with you?
So we've got two of our most influential players here. We've got Tim Bresden, who's played a lot of cricket for England over here. He's having a fantastic season for us this year. His kit's not actually here today because he's had the day off, but he'll be back in here tomorrow morning, and yeah, likes his own area to chill out. Next to Tim is our first team captain, Andrew Gale. He's the main man in the dressing room and out there on the field, calls the shots. So quite often we'll have a team meeting, we're either looking at Jason, or if Gale is leading it, we're looking in this corner here. But the interesting part about these two is they're actually related now. They've known each other since they were 12 or 13, but Andrew's wife has a sister who Tim then married. So they're now brother-in-laws. So not only are they related, they live 100 yards apart back over in Huddersfield, and they sit next to each other in the dressing room.
I'm going to ask you something I've been dying to ask you all the way along here as well, because you've got a nickname, I understand.
I've got a few.
If we believe the internet, and the internet can tell you anything nowadays, your nickname is Dead, I believe. And I also understand, because I know you're not massive on your social media, but there was once upon a time, way back when, and I assume probably the guy who sits behind you might have been heavily involved with, a boring Steve Patterson Twitter account was also created too.
That's
so I'm getting a sense of your character in the dressing room compared to perhaps theirs. This is your right of reply time now. Are you Mr. Boring in the dressing room here?
Well, I'd have to let other lads confirm or deny that for you. I have got that nickname. It's been with me for a number of years now, for a mixture of reasons. Too long to go into on camera.
Is that because we can't go into them on camera?
I don't want to go into them on camera. But yeah, that's one of my... I've got many nicknames, but that's probably the most common one. Yes, I've got a boring Pato Twitter account. It's not run by myself. I don't know who it's run by. It might be somebody in the corner, it might not be. I don't know.
Here we are in the middle of one of the most iconic cricket venues in the world, let alone in the country. You get to play here week in, week out. What's it like to walk out here, ball in hand, send a few quick deliveries down there? It must be very special.
It is pretty special, yeah. As you know, there's been some pretty iconic games over the past been played here.
Yeah.
The 80, was it 81 Ashes or 80? I can't remember what year.
Beefy doing his bit.
I want around, but yeah, there's been some special matches played here over the years, and it's a special place to play. I grew up coming here to watch cricket as a kid, and to think one day that I'd be playing here, like you say, day in day out for the first team, it's pretty special.
You're walking in, you're running up to bowl, you're doing your preparation. Anything you go through specifically? Any superstitions, any preparations, or do you just run in and bowl?
We do a lot of practice off the field, and a lot of prep kind of before we get to the game. So once you're out there, you're just concentrating on the job in hand. You're not worrying too much about anything else. You've done all your work leading up to it. You're ready to play, so you just go out there and try and bowl all back to the best of your ability.
And you get pressure in a different way, don't you, out here? Because if you're playing a 4-day game and perhaps not going so well, the batsmen are well in, and you're having to bowl consistently for 30, 40 overs and keep going, and fatigue kicks in, and then you might be doing a 20-20 game and you've got the last over to bowl and you've got to stop them hitting 6 runs off it.
Yeah, it's very different. Obviously, different forms of the game. We get different crowds for different kind of formats of the game. But as I say, to work here every day, it could be a lot worse.
And how do you take your wickets? What is it you're doing with that ball to get them out? Because it's not blistering pace, is it?
Well, it's not even quick.
Patterson
it's not even quick. It's probably just above medium pace. I'm not quick. I don't swing the ball, so I'm effectively a seam bowler. So what I try to do is I just bowl it hard into the pitch, try and hit the seam, and then naturally you will get variation off the pitch. If there's a little bit of grass on it, that usually helps somebody like me. And sometimes it'll seam back towards the batsman, sometimes it'll seam away from him. If you put it in the right area, that means if it comes back to him, you could bowl him, get him LB. If you seam it away from him, you could hopefully get him caught behind. So it's about putting it in a good area consistently and hoping that the pitch will give you some assistance.
You're almost telling me it's as much luck as it is skill.
You could say that. It's not luck as such, but what I'm saying is you don't know, when you bowl it, you don't know if it's going to seam back towards him, you don't know if it's going to seam away from him, but you know that you've got a good chance of one of those things
And equally,
happening.
he doesn't know that.
Well, that's the thing, and if I don't know what's going to happen, he certainly doesn't know, so that gives me an opportunity to get him out.
Do you ever fancy bowling anything else? 90 mile an hour deliveries, bit of leg spin?
If I could, I would,
Try any of that?
but I'm not good at leg spin, I'm not good at off spin, and I certainly can't bowl 90 mile an hour, because I've been bowling this speed for about 15 years, so I just do what I can do and try and do it as well as I can.
And last one, whilst we're out here, I have to ask, because we do know you're a dab hand with the bat now and again,
Yeah.
but you're not top order job. Say someone is running in at 90 miles an hour, one of these test boys having a bit of a run out.
Yeah.
What's that like? You've got the sight screens up, the hurling in at you. I mean, it must be a pretty scary experience.
It can be quick at times, yeah. The one thing that probably does help us is that we face bowling like that quite regularly, so it's not like you're used to facing people in club cricket and then suddenly you're facing a test bowler. I say you get used to it, but you're used to the pace, and hopefully we know how to survive against it.
Obviously, you appear a lot in the local media, and I know the radio follow your progress a bit. The whole Daily Mail sticks you in now and again. I've seen your mugshot on the back pages. So, has it ever come across that you perhaps might actually be a bit of a role model to a certain extent, some of the whole kids over there playing cricket?
I've never really looked at it like that, I suppose. I know growing up I had a guy called Mark Robinson who played cricket for Yorkshire and then went down to Sussex and has become a very successful coach now. And he at the time was the only professional cricketer to come from the area. So I knew growing up, I kind of looked up to him, and I went to some of his coaching kind of classes that he did, and that was kind of a bit of an inspiration for me to know that coming from the area, you could have the success if you were good enough. So I don't know what the young kids think over there, but hopefully it shows them that with me and Will now, kind of two lads from the area representing Yorkshire, that there is opportunities, and if you are good enough and if you work hard, that it could happen for them as well.